Another lesson for you to fill in our little book of most important things to pursue in life, according to me, and not just me, a lot of other people. Everything I talk about is old, hundreds of years old, in some cases thousands of years old. They're all old concepts, and they're not just ideas, they're practices, and they're things that are only best talked about with people who have experienced them in a profound way so that you can speak to them and, they have some meaning. And I'm very fortunate to have experienced a very, very deep sense of what this is all about, contentment. And when you feel a very deep sense of contentment over a long period of time, you understand what a valuable thing it is. And I want to talk about this. It's a very, 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 very Buddhist concept. And I think if there's a differentiator between, in terms of Eastern religion, between Buddhism and, say, Eastern, not necessarily Hindi, because there's a lot of practices within India, but sort of the India guru type of realm of teaching, I would say, and cut me a little leeway here, I'm getting a little general, but I think there's a point to be made here that the Indian guru view of life tends to focus a little bit more on enlightenment, on getting to an enlightened state. And the Buddhist school of thought, even though it recognizes enlightenment, tends to focus a little bit more on contentment. And there's a reason why I'm far more attracted to the Buddhist view of things, and I'll tell you why. And it's not to say that gurus don't recognize the value of contentment, that you're going to go to a guru, an Indian guru who's a very wise man, and say, it's not about contentment, it's about enlightenment. Of course he's going to understand, or he or she, because there's some very, very, very amazing female gurus in the world. There's very, very amazing female Buddhists in the world. Awareness doesn't discriminate, doesn't care. Wisdom is wisdom. It doesn't have a sex to it. I think in this day and age, it's very important to attach to that when we have a lot of different certain role models to recognize that wisdom is an asexual thing, contentment. So let's talk about contentment. I don't know if anybody else refers to it as this, but this is my reference. I've come to refer to contentment as a 6 on a 10 scale. That's my own definition. I love it. It works for me because it really reflects what I think contentment really is in terms of intellectually giving it a definition. This is because contentment is a place that keeps us close to the middle of life, which is this is a very Buddhist thing. We have the middle way, the middle path, the idea that it's not about finding extremes. It's about the wisdom as being able to walk the middle way and understand the nature of life as a totality. And then to quote the amazing Joseph Campbell added to that story by saying, yes, absolutely, but the secret to life is you have to learn to lean to one side. That's the secret to life. So, whether we choose to lean a little bit into the darkness or we choose to lean a little bit to the light, we do have to lean in a direction because life makes us choose to plant our feet somewhere, and that then defines who we are, how we integrate with the world, how we express ourselves. The learning place is the middle, and then we have to lean. Something pushes us. If we go back and forth, and then that not good for the psyche. So contentment is a place just above the middle. And there are several reasons why this is what I would refer to as a sweet spot in life. One is that, as any one of us should know, when we are on, every one of us has been in some place in life where we were on just a tremendous high, just whatever, down 9 or 10 on our 10 scale. We've all been there at some point, and it might have been an hour, a day, a week, a month, depends on who it is. And we all know that things that go all the way up come down. Sometimes a little bit down, sometimes a lot down, sometimes all the way down, depending on who we are and our lifestyle and our practice and, how, all those types of things. Well, when you talk about an individual that's able to stay in the 8, 9, 10 zone, it's just like, again, like somebody who's in perfect physical condition. How many hours a day do they spend in the gym? Every single day, and how much attention do they pay to their diet? And it's a incredible commitment. And if that person takes a year off and decides to drink beer and eat donuts, and it could have 15 years of building their body into this perfect body. Well, in 6 months, they could be a big, overweight, unhealthy person that has to get rushed to the hospital. And it's no different in our inner health. If we want to be an 8, 9, 10 all the time, we have to have that high level of commitment. And if we go, okay, I now want to take 6 months off from that high level, how quickly we can cascade back down into the darker realms of how we experience life. Trust me, if you don't know this, you have to trust me on this. It's a very reflective of physical world. And it doesn't feel good. And it's, gravity is a powerful thing. Just like the person that just decides to sit on the couch and, drink beer and eat donuts. It's a hell of a lot harder to get off the couch and get back into shape. And it's the same thing in our inner worlds. If we're way up here and then we suddenly, whatever we do, something drags us down, it's very easy for us to get depressed and go, why even bother trying to, find happiness? It's just so, it's just going to, we all know at some point in our life we've felt that state of mind. Like, why even bother? And that brings up the 6 on the 10 scale, because the 6 on the 10 scale is a much more maintainable place of happiness. We don't have to be super happy or elated or, look at me, I'm just, flying on the moon. We're above the middle, which is, you got to tell yourself, man, anything above the middle is in the plus zone. You're blessed. Anything above the middle of life that keeps you out of the pit of life, you are in the plus zone, and you've got to be grateful and thankful. So when you're just above that middle state of life, it's far more manageable because we've got a little more wiggle room. And if we go, here's the middle, we start to get, we're not that far from our sweet spot, really. We don't have to freak out. If we're up here, and whole system just, our psyches, oh my God, roller coaster rides, manic depression and euphoria wreaks havoc on us. If we shoot for something just a little, just feeling comfortable, just being up that half zone, and if we do get sunk down, pulled down a little bit, that's not going to freak us out. We're going to realize it's a little more energy, a little more focus, a little more patience, a little more action. Boom. Yeah, back to contentment. A lot more sustainable. And from that place, of course, we're going to have our time. Sometimes this life pulls us up to these places where, things happen, they pull us down, things happen, they push us up, and then we can realize we don't have to worry about staying there. It's okay. It's okay to have it's like, getting on a plane and taking a vacation at the tropical beach. We know we have to go home. And it's amazing, and we wish we could stay. But you know what? Home is not too bad. If we come back and we don't hate our home, that means we're down here somewhere. But if our home is somewhat comfortable, we have some things we like, and we come back home. We're not off in euphoria. Margaritas aren't pouring. And whatever girls are dancing, the waves are crashing. But you know what? Not bad. So, and that's another reason why, Buddhists will often talk about that as being like home. Contentment is a place of home. And we're very close to that place of the middle. This is another very Buddhist thing, is you never want to get too far away from the suffering of life, because then you're denying reality. Big difference between sticking your head in the suffering of life and just being, in a dark abyss of depression, and just being aware and just not just saying, I get it. There's a lot of life, a suffering in life. If it's not mine and I'm in a fortunate position, 2 doors down, there's something going on. And that doesn't mean we have to let that gravity bring us down. It just means we can be aware and connected to it. And that keeps us whole, and it keeps us unafraid of darkness, because we can't get rid of the darkness of life, but we can get rid of our fear of it, and we can change our relationship to it. And contentment leaves us in a nice spot to work on that craft and that art. A lot of times when we shoot for the high, I'm going to get into this in nirvana business in just a second, but if we shoot for a high, but we don't have the skills to maintain that high, we go out of, there's a big gap of fear going on here that disconnects us from our total self. And so we think we're really, really happy. And a lot of reasons why we crash is because the gravity of life, if we deny the shadow side of life, it has a way of yanking us down and going, oh yeah, you forgot about me. Well, haha. And so that's hence the roller coaster craziness that can go on if we're always grasping for happiness and euphoria. Heroin or whatever these drugs are, that's their whole thing. Off into, crazy euphoria, whatever. You don't have it in your system. Light, gravity of life, hello, come back, wow, into the darkness, need euphoria, which is very symbolic of what our systems do with euphoria. If you leave out the drugs of it, our systems will still do the same thing. If we're chasing euphoria, we'll still have a very similar a reaction that we would have as with like a drug like that. So let's just talk a little bit about this idea of this nirvana enlightenment. I just do not like people that pitch this, because if we shoot for contentment and our goal is to raise our awareness, and we do it carefully and slowly and methodically and build it like we're building our health, we can climb in our levels of happiness. But because we're not doing it from a place of fear or rushing, we can build tools that keep us, I know this gets a little crazy, hard to wrap your head around. You might have to just use some imagination or trust on this, but it allows you to stay connected. And this is a huge thing that a lot of people who preach enlightenment will not tell you, and it's incredibly dangerous to pursue nirvana states without understanding the immense importance of process, to have a foundation to who you are so you don't come crashing down. That's why monks and people, a lot of times you see the wisest ones in their 40s, 50s, 60s, because they've done all this groundwork. And it's not, oh, I'm chasing nirvana. Oh, look, I found nirvana. No. It's a very slow growth. So they never stay disconnected. It's never out of fear. Like, I need to, if I get there, I won't have to feel darkness anymore. No. It's the old lotus thing. You're always connected to suffering. But you can forget that if you chase happiness. You could see it as an escape. An enlightened person has escaped nothing. They have not escaped suffering. They have not escaped shadows. And if anyone tells you that they have, they're a liar and they're not enlightened. Enlightened person has made peace with shadows and suffering. They have not escaped nothing. They simply have no conflict with the totality of life. That's what makes an enlightened person. And you could almost say that they're experiencing everything at once. But because they don't have any conflict with the light or the dark of the life, that gives them they're buzzing up here, but they're existing. And I know some people might just be laughing at this whole story, but if you want an explanation, that's what that is. And so Buddhists don't negate enlightenment. they just understand the danger of setting off, focusing on the top of the mountain. It's more about, yeah, place a foot after foot. Try to keep yourself close to the middle, but on the positive end of the middle. And that's a fantastic place to be. I love making up silly metaphors, and I think contentment is, if you could imagine, your most elated moment in life, like, oh my God, I've never been happier. This is amazing. Man, I wish I could feel this way all the time. It's incredible. All right, let's put that aside. Now imagine you got the day off. You got your jeans on, t-shirt on, and you're sitting just chilling out on the couch by yourself or with a friend on a nice day. Maybe not your most euphoric moment in life, but not a bad day. That is contentment. Contentment is a spiritual version of sitting on your couch with a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and just being okay. Like, hey, not too bad. And if you can do that, you've got a jewel of life. People who sit on their couches with their jeans and a t-shirt and are just relaxing, going, oh, now what next? This is just sucks. Where are you going to go? Are there better things? Maybe, but in terms of a place a home, somewhere to feel comfortable and grateful, if you can't feel comfortable and grateful in that spot, where are you going to go from there? Where are you going to find anything else? If you can't see the fortune, if you can't remember, if you don't realize how many people in the world don't get to do that, and when they do sit down, it's after 16 hours of 7 days a week of some sort of brutal life, or wondering if somebody's going to break in their house or shoot them or whatever they are, and there's billions of people on the planet who live under those conditions. So if you can't sit on the couch with your jeans and t-shirt and relax, and appreciate how special that is, then you'll never get contentment. And then good luck. But contentment is the jewel. It is a jewel of life. And, a lot of times we're trying to define happiness. We feel we get it, and then it slips through our fingers, right? I found it. What happened to it? And a lot of times it is because it's this thing that's just a little bit too high. It's not sustainable. And so it takes a long time before we can come down and go, well, hey, you know what? Anything above middle is pretty solid. When we get so many times in life, we get cast down into places that we're underwater, or we're below any place that's got happiness in it. And only then do we realize that anything above there is actually pretty damn cool. And especially if we can sustain anything above there, then it's pretty damn cool. So again, a goal as well. Sometimes we have it already. We can always find it in ourselves. Contentment is something that we can always cultivate, like a little, that's what meditation is a lot about, is cultivating sort of a little temple of contentment, if you will. A little home that you can just sort of sit on a couch inside of yourself. And when the world gets crazy, you can just go somewhere and find that place. And the place is not about euphoria. It's not about incredible happiness. It might be at a given moment, but it's not as a goal or as the main thing. It's more of just a cozy place to go and take a deep breath and say, all right, I'm okay. I'm content. It doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be crazy miserable. And that is a beautiful place to be, when you can savor that and feel comfortable with that. It grows, and it just feels more and more right and real. So get rid of happiness. And I would say even get rid of joy. Let those things come and go at their own time. Don't hate joy or say, oh, no, joy, I don't want to be joyful. Just let them naturally come and go when they want to come and go. and focus on contentment. And if you're a spiritual person seeking nirvana, honestly, don't bother. Find contentment, and then if you're doing the right practices from that place and you're nourishing yourself properly, you will evolve just as far as you need to go in your life, whatever that is. And you don't need to worry how high or low that is. It'll just be your life, and that's perfect. And you don't have to be in conflict with it. It's not a game. And we're going to talk about that next. All right. Thank you for listening.